across the state, across the region, that we will refer you to that are well trusted by our organization to provide services. But we do as much as we can, which is part of the reason why our definition of youth is quite relative, because it's understood. Chronology is only one way, right, to measure someone's life. Someone can present to you as 24 and very well be very much closer to 12, given the trauma, given what they've endured over the course of their life. And so being hyper aware of that as an organization, everyone inside of the organization is trained in a variety of ways, sharing a variety of experiences to do our best to adhere to the needs of the young people. So for instance, youth mental health first aid, adult mental health first aid is something the entire organization is trained on. So we're all, like, I would say 95% of the staff is trained on that. The other 5%, they're probably like I'll have my 3-year certification because I just did mine. You have others who did theirs maybe like a year ago and they're like a year out still, that kind of thing. The majority of our behavioral health therapists, and this will run the gamut, we have an art therapy program with art therapists, we have counselors, we have social work. Even in my role, though I don't provide social work services or therapy, I myself have an MSW and MPH. So we're very hyper aware, and should I need to utilize those skills, it is very much an environment where it is helpful to have. And everyone, a lot of the behavioral health team also is trained in things like trauma focused teams, and things of that nature. We do the best that we can. I'm not going to lie to you, this work is really fun. We have hundreds of young people, and we include those that utilize health and wellness services, then we're keeping into the 1,000+ in terms of being out with young people. And then of course, we have young people that come from families, we have family specific programming, because something that was also really important to us was hitting homelessness at its root. But we also have a program along the lines of like the Family Acceptance Project or Family Preservation. Every family that doesn't understand or share the experience of being a part of this community doesn't necessarily reject out of hatred. Some of them reject out of ignorance. So like, I don't share this experience or this identity with my young person. I don't know how to support them. And we have specific programming for families where we work with the young person. We work with mom, dad, grandma, auntie, uncle, and siblings, whoever lives in the home, to ensure that this young person is covered in a very holistic way, where like mom can call the therapist or the parent support partner, like, hey, I'm really struggling with this today, or a peer advocate. There's a lot of different touch points for the entire family to touch, so that everyone is feeling supported, so that this young person doesn't feel as if they're going on this journey alone. So there's a couple of ways that we can go about it. We are doing the best that we can, but it is difficult. And I mean, we have managed to stay afloat for 25 years, and we have, if you want to measure success for the organization, about a third of the organization came from the population of whom. And that lived experience is such a prize for the organization to have. So that when we are engaging with young people, because all of us have those experiences, when we're engaged, I use my degrees to help navigate some of this red tape, you know, for a lot of the young people, because they don't have whatever it is that they need to bypass some of the things that these young people experience. But having those with lived experience, who are part of the community, who have utilized services, who understand very well what it means to work with the organization of capacity, now working within it, has supported our work in ways that I cannot even begin to define to you. Any other question? So
in your my full admiration, okay, first of all, yes, through the work that you do. Just one question: do you have a part of the program re-engagement with young people in the education?
Oh, very much so, very much so. So, which is part of the reason why we have a computer lab in the space. So we have young people who have come to us like, I would really like to complete my GED. And so we're working with programs that already exist in the city of Detroit or for William County. And they are able to come in and work with the young person who has those types of goals. Virtual schooling, and that's also part of the reason why Thriving Futures exists, because yes, it is an employment pathway, but it is also very much an education pathway as well. Because, you know, there are certain goals on an entry level, right, that a young person may be able to walk into. But if there's any sort of professional development desire, they're able to do that as well and have those conversations with their respective mentors. It's like, okay, these are the steps I took. This is what this journey in this industry might look like for you. If that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're very. Oh.
No, you're phenomenal.
Okay. Like I feel that because 2 years from. And then I can talk to you after. But I will be getting with you then.
Where can you don't make the clothing release?
Oh, you lovely creature. So 95 Victor in Highland Park. 42. You have to give me the times. So Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I'm giving you that because I usually do that. Of course, it's RuthEllisCenter.org. On the top right, there's a donate button. And we are about to release our new website, so be on the lookout for that, because it is, ooh, is it cold? Ooh, very proud.
Yes, I also just wanted to thank you for the services that you offer. It was amazing. Spreading the word and educating those of us who want to know more. And I wanted to do a quick plug. I know there are many folks in this audience, including me, who love a great t-shirt and show support for our cause. Direct monetary donations go to the farthest, but also on Etsy, they have a partnership with Hudson Farley. Their t-shirts are so soft, so wonderful. You can put Ruth Ellis in the Etsy search bar. They've got these great tees that say this tee supports Ruth Ellis of Detroit. They're beautiful and comfy and good.
Oh my God, that is so sweet of you. Thank you for sharing. We're gonna swag everybody out. We are. My community engagement manager is like crazy, and so we're working on merch right now, but that is so sweet of you. Thank you for sharing. And this lovely flower human, how can I assist with questioning this? Yes?
Oh. Is Victor close to Woodward Avenue?
Very much so. It's right off of it.
And you want to talk about the 6 miles after 6 miles?
It is after 6 miles, so let me think. Because I'm from New Jersey, I'm just learning. I lived in Michigan for 10 years, don't shade me, but I lived in Ann Arbor, and you learn a lot about Michigan. Yeah, right. So let me think. So there's Woodward, and then you come to Victor, yep, and then there's John R. Right here, in between our buildings, actually.
So it's parallel with you.
Yes. Well, no, John R. is parallel, right? Yeah.
At that point it is.
So if you're coming from, I believe here, and you were on Woodward, you would make a left turn on to Victor. Yeah,
After 6 o'clock.
after 6 miles.
We'll send
No,
out,
I'm sorry, that's not.
we'll send out a flow.
Yeah, and I can send that.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm not opposed to picking up donations also.
Phone number.
Yeah. Would you like it? You have your pen ready?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can, it's 313-444-0216. I shouldn't even tell you all of them, but I live in Hazel Park, so if you're around, say what's up. Yeah, I'm very close, so. Ooh. Hi.
You know, one of the things I heard you say a couple of times, and I
Yes.
just spent a little space with, is
Sure.
the level of trauma.
Yes.
I think we all can connect with housing. We know what that looks like, and
Right.
how we contribute to that. And
Right.
we know what it looks like to get a DUV, et cetera.
Right.
Back in the day, I represented kids in abuse and neglect proceedings in Cook County, Illinois, and I would tell you that no one
even knowing what my job was at that time,
Right.
and to engage with what I said was, there's trauma.
Right,
They think it's more the exception than the rule, and I know that these kids are living with trauma that don't even come to you. There's kids living with trauma everywhere.
right,
And so, you know, I think that, and also I hear great partnerships. So it's a part of me is wanting to encourage people to give cash, because the partnerships exist for housing, the partnerships exist for GED programs. The mental health is just such a gap,
it is.
and to deal with the trauma, so give cash. That's kind of like my piece, because I hear you building your own capacity to deal with it, because it is gaps in the system.
Yes.
So that's just kind of.
I mean, so, and a lot of our funding comes from like DWIN in terms of like behavioral health, which is the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. They provide support for those that are like underinsured and or have Medicaid. But yes, and we build all of this different programs to work through and in, and, but I mean, even, you know, outpatient therapy can only do so much, group therapy can only do so much. Thankfully, we do have programming, community-based like family support services. So we have therapists that go to a young person's home. I actually just stole some of their chairs because sometimes in some of these homes, there is no appropriate like seating for the therapist to engage with the young person in the family. We do the best that we can. And I know it feels really gross sometimes to like ask specifically for money, but it is my job. And we're doing something that a lot of places have never even thought to try. And that takes cash, being creative, being a bunch of creatives, being that the majority of the organization is LGBTQ, being creative, I mean, and being here, right, being in Detroit Metro, we are scrappy. We're very, very scrappy. But what has allowed us to do a lot of the work that we do and the way that we do it is the kindness of individuals like you.
Speaking of cash, I would like to make a motion that we, as a club, donate $150 to the Ruth Ellis.
I'd like to second. Any discussion? Can I get the ayes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right, so for those who may be new to the club, just introduce ourselves. We have a board. For our board, I am Michael Tash. We have our vice chair, Carl. We have our wonderful secretary, Mike James, and we have our wonderful treasurer, Deb over there. And Deb, sorry, I don't do two things at once. I'm gonna give this treasurer. Sorry, two things.
Multitasking is what we do. And the checking account, there's $2,633.30. In the savings, there's $1,092.63.
Thank you. All right, so next up, we have been blessed with a wonderful intern, Kate, who is going to talk about the work that she's done to make sure that we grow our club and again, attract more youth. So Kate, I'm going to kick it off and hold the presentation. We'll have a fun group activity as well. Sorry.
Morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for your support. So I'm going to speed through this little presentation and I'll give some updates about what I've been working on with the youth engagement project. And then Charlie and I are going to do a little group activity. So that's how this is going to run. So first of all, some of you may be asking, okay, what is this youth engagement project that you're talking about? So I was hired on as an intern through the club to work on this project to attract and maintain young voters. So that's people under 30 to the club to increase the longevity of the club. So that's a full goal of this project. And what I've been doing throughout the project is essentially conducting interviews, going to the club's events to understand the organizational structure of the club, doing some surveys, and doing a literature scan of different clubs within the area. So to date, I've done several interviews 12 people I've interviewed so far. They've been the board members of this club, general member of this club, different club leaders throughout the area. And actually, I interviewed a member of the Michigan High School Democrats yesterday. So I've been making some good progress with interviews. And then I've attended a few events of the club, and I've been distributing surveys recently for different club members and community members to give them perspectives on this project and share their ideas. So in progress, I have a focus group coming up, which I'm going to conduct with several community members. And at the end of this project, I'm going to be writing up a project summary to distribute to all of the members. So you can see what I've been doing throughout this whole project. Right, so here are some takeaways of my interview so far. So I have 4 main takeaways, and I'm not going to read through all of these quotes that I collected, but you can just read through them for yourself. So my takeaways are, I really want to create people have said that they want some structure within the club to support youth participation and recruiting. That's a big thing that came up throughout the interviews. Events that specifically attract youth are really important to many of the people I interviewed. Doing digital outreach, specifically through social media, is something that a lot of people have brought up as a primary method of communication and promotions for young individuals. And then sincerity and inclusiveness is a big thing that individuals who may like to join the club would like to see. So something that I've been working on, which I mentioned previously, is surveys. So I actually constructed a survey for general members of the Royal Oak Area Democratic Club. So if you look at your agenda or on the screen, you will see a QR code that you can go ahead and scan and then fill out a short survey. That survey just asks about your perspectives on this project, different ideas that you have to support this project. And the more the merrier with ideas, everyone. These surveys are really important to the success of this project. So I really hope that you all get the chance to fill out the survey. And then my first focus group will be conducted on Monday, June 17th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Bamboo, which is in downtown Royal Oak. So if any of you know of anybody that may like to participate in the focus group, or if you yourself would like to participate in the focus group, please just reach out to me or Charlie. I include our emails on there. So now we're going to do our little activity.
I'm taking the pictures in the wrong color. Blue one.
What you're looking for.
So the focus group, it could be any person of any age, literally anybody can attend this focus group. It's really just going to be an idea brainstorming session for the youth engagement project. So during the interview, I'll just be asking individuals, what are your ideas on this youth engagement project? And it'll be an idea sharing session where we're going to just brainstorm some ideas that could potentially help out the club with attracting and retaining young voters.
So in this focus group, are you drawing from people who are already a part of the club or have already shown an interest in whether at the general membership board or the focus on young people? Are you looking for people that maybe right now don't see themselves really politically, but have ideas and you'd like to present more to them? Like, I'm not quite sure, like, I'm thinking about my grandkids. I like to tell them about this stuff. I don't know how to express that.
Yeah, so for this focus group, individuals don't need to be super engaged in politics, or they can be really engaged with politics. I'm really looking for a diverse array of community members to just provide their perspectives on this project. So even if your grandkids are not super into politics, but this is something that they may like to give their ideas on, please feel free to invite them. I love it. Thank you.
My name is Charlie Fleetum. I am Peyton's intern supervisor, but as you can see, she's sitting with a lot of supervision. She's really sharp. Back to the focus group, I'm going to go into sales talk here. What we're looking for is prospects, people that really haven't been involved yet, but might have an interest that we could stimulate, trigger through the focus group, and then learn what a prospect like that needs in terms of information, activity, club experience, et cetera, to come and join. So we're not really looking for current club members, okay? We'd much rather have people that are new, that we can talk to, have fresh ideas. So that's sort of what we would like at the focus group. And it's gonna be in a real hip place, Bamboo, I don't know if you've been there, but it's sort of an open office site, right? 3rd Street, the main. Okay, so we're gonna do a short focus. We'd like to get into groups of 5 or 6, if you can just turn around and cluster real quick. We'll let you do that, and then we're gonna pass out some forms and give you a couple of questions. So if you could group up. Okay, so. So we'd like to introduce yourselves by telling the people that you're going to choose the first Democratic president you voted for. That's the icebreaker. First Democratic president you voted for. And then we'd like at least one person in your group to fill out this form, okay? And just pass it back to Kate when you're done. One form per group, okay? Ready, set, go.
Democratic president, candidate voted for or something like that. And we gave groups of 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go.
I want to say 80, it would have been 88. Thank you. Thank you. It would have 88.
Yeah, so 88 would be H.W. Bush. 92 would be Bill Clinton.
I voted. I know I didn't vote for Bush. I don't was it Dukakis?
Dukakis would be the first Democratic candidate.
Against Bush. Was that Bush's first term?
Yeah,
So it would have been Dukakis or was it
Dukakis lost H.W. Bush.
So what is it? How about you?
My first one, I mean, elected Democratic would have to be Bill Clinton. And then, gosh, I don't know if I was able to vote for Mondale, because Mondale ran against Reagan. I probably voted for Mondale my first election. And then voted for Dukakis and felt like I was always losing. Especially when Dukakis came in hot with 14-point lead at this point of the year.
At this point of the year, I know.
And then he went on freaking vacation.
Isn't crazy? Yeah.
Then he came back and he was letting prisoners out of jail, according to the television.
No. And then he rode that tank. Rode that tank right here in Sterling.
That was his response.
And that was his response.
Out of the tank factory.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then he was gone.
He was involved in so much. Same thing with, remember Dean? Dean did that same thing. Dean was in it with Hillary. And it was Hillary and Dean in the, for Democrat. And Dean did that scream. He did that scream when he was on, it was like a fundraiser or something. And he got really excited and he goes, ah! And it went all over the news and his ratings just dropped. And then Hillary became the candidate after that. Remember that?
Yeah,
That was like,
I heard the audio from the room.
okay,
They scrubbed out the other noises in the room
is that what they did?
and they heightened his, so he goes, yeah, like that,
Yeah,
but you wouldn't have heard it in the room.
really.
It was literally,
And
see, they suppressed
the
the ambient noise from the speaker that was near him and then heightened his, so it sounded like he was doing a banshee cry.
yeah, it sounded like an antichrist.
And there never was.
So who did that? Was it the fellow Democrats or was it the,
The recording was from the room.
so it could have been anyone. It could have been a Republican strategist or it could have been a Democrat that was running against him. That wanted got to be influential.
If I were in the other campaign, exaggeration is part of the game, right? His response probably killed him. There's nothing there to kill him.
That, that should not have disqualified. Was it Hillary? Am I right about this? Was it Hillary who was running this? You remember? I'm terrible at that.
What year was it again?
Dean was, Dean.
I think we were involved in, I knew that person. We're not part of the whole thing. That's kind of our idea. This is the big example of that. It is something for us to use. Yeah. That's one of them. Yeah.
The thing about it is one of the
2004.
Yeah, so he was, he lost to Kerry, right?
Was it Carrie? Oh, yeah. I liked Carrie. I ran for Carrie.
That was the primary, and there are a lot of groups and campaigns in the mix.
It was early. I remember it was early, but he was like lined up because he was the DNC president for a long time. And he was lined up to be. That's right. He was governor of Vermont.
There was
And
nothing
chair of the DNC from 2005 to 2009.
I mean, it may not have been the Kerry campaign, or it may have been, but there are actually a number of other groups that had interests. But the thing about it is, Bill Clinton was a master of instant response and recontextualizing things. This guy wasn't. He's kind of, no, I don't really need that. That's not how you.
Yes, I know. Should always respond confidently.
That's not quite right, or what happened? I don't remember that, I mean, that's a response. Bill Clinton was a master of response tactics, and so was Jerry Brown of California. I mean, you run against Jerry Brown or Bill Clinton, and, well, Jerry Brown even now, at 80, whatever, you run against those guys during their campaigns, and you thought you were cutting them, and they were killing you, you know. They were so quick, they were so precise, they came up with images and context so fast that you couldn't overwhelm them. They're just really good. And I mean, it wasn't something we should have lost. He's a good.
Okay, what's on our paper? On this?
Please brainstorm ideas for increasing youth membership in our club.
Gosh. Feels like we've talked about this for.
Okay. We're gonna have.
We both given suggestions.
Yeah, we've already given out.
All of this does.
Where's us?
So we gave you,
Thank you all so much for participating in this activity. We really appreciate it. As I stated before, all the perspectives and ideas that we get really make this project successful. So I really appreciate all of you. Again, please scan that QR code whenever you get the chance, even if it's after the meeting, just to fill out that survey. I really appreciate it. And then to end off, Charlie thought this would be funny for me to add, but for the icebreaker question, the first Democratic candidate you've ever voted for, I haven't voted for one yet because this will be my first presidential election.
We don't have any more.
All right, so we're gonna kick it off next. We'll go to our candidate reports. So any active candidates who would like to speak, raise your hand. Come on up. Perfect. right.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, my name is Nicole Huddleston. I won't keep you long. Many of you have had an opportunity to meet with to go who I have not. My name is Nicole Huddleston, and I am one of your candidates for Oakland County Circuit Court Judge. I currently live in West Bloomfield. I've been an Oakland County resident for nearly 2 decades, and we live in West Bloomfield with my husband and our 2 daughters who both just wrapped up their junior year in college, and our 11-year-old son. I currently serve as the managing director of the Detroit Justice Center. And so DJC is a social justice nonprofit law firm, and the work that we do here is to build healthy, stronger communities and families. I was really excited to see Ruth Ellis Center here today. That is one of our partners, so we provide legal services to their individuals. And so I'm running because it is important that we have judges and our judges who understand the complexities of the lives of individuals. This has been designated as a family choice center. I've been providing family law representation for nearly a decade. And what a lot of people don't realize is that 80% of the people who go through family court go unrepresented because there's no right to counsel. So not only do I have a decade of family law experience, I also have over a decade of providing free legal services to 80% of the individuals who go before that group. And I think that that uniquely positions me to serve as your next Oakland County Circuit Court Judge. We quickly moved into phase 2. Phase 1 was about getting signatures. We are officially on the ballot. Phase 2 is getting out the vote. And so we need help, we need support. If you are willing to lawn sign in your yard, tell a neighbor, anything that you can do to help. I do have literature in the back. Again, my name is Nicole Huddleston, and I would love to earn your vote. The primaries is August 6th, but if you vote absentee ballot, that'll be coming out in about 3 short weeks. So again, I would love to earn your vote. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ruth Ellis Center, and of course, many of you signed my petition, so for all of you who did, I appreciate it. I'm Monica Sanford. I'm running for Oakland County Circuit Court Judge. I grew up here in Oakland County. I've been practicing family, criminal, and probate for 20 years. As you've heard, this is a family law seat. I was a social worker before I was a lawyer. So I worked for the Oakland County Department of Health and Human Services. Back in my day, it was called Family Independence Agency, but you know it as Department of Health and Human Services as a foster care worker. So I have the unique experience of being a foster care worker before I was a lawyer. So I serviced families that were dealing with abuse and neglect cases for several years before I decided to go back to law school. I have a master's in social work as well as my Juris Doctorate. And as a result of that, that made me uniquely fit to do family law work because I had the social work side of it, the neglect side of it, and then I went and got my Juris Doctorate. That enabled me to be able to do the abuse and neglect cases, the juvenile delinquency cases, as well as the divorce and paternity and all of the other avenues of adoption as well. It also gave me the experience that I was invited by the Oakland County Circuit Court to become their juvenile drug attorney. And so I serviced as the Oakland County Juvenile Drug Court attorney for over 15 years, where I serviced juveniles who had substance abuse and mental health issues. I did that for 15 years, and it was a pleasure servicing our juveniles. And I stepped down in December of last year so that I could run. I truly believe that it's important that you understand all aspects of families and what they're going through. And my social work experience gives me a unique perspective. I believe that it's important to hold our juveniles accountable, but I also believe it's important to provide our juveniles and our families the resources that they need so that they can be successful citizens. Many times our juveniles are coming into the system and they're really suffering from mental health issues, socioeconomic issues, and substance abuse issues. And so we look at the behavior, but we don't look at what's behind the behavior. We have to be able to look at what's behind behavior and meet those needs in order for our juveniles to be successful. Many of our families are broken families. And they need resources and they need people that can respect and understand them and give them the dignity and respect that they deserve. Oftentimes, I have been in courtrooms where, judges can be super critical and judgmental, and not really understand what's going on with the family and be able to reach them. That is what has driven me to be able to run, is because I feel that it is important if we're really going to be successful in helping the community at large. We have to be willing to hear them, listen to them, and then look for resources that can be a help to them. Of course, now we are past petitions and it is vote time. And so any support that you're willing to give me, I would greatly appreciate it. And thank you for your time this morning.
We are, when we go to pause candidate section, I could read my own handwriting. We are greeted with Marianne Fontana from OCDP. We have 2 goals for action, so I'll let her speak. Sorry about that. I gotta learn how to write better.
I appreciate it. Hello, everybody, and I'm Marianne Fontana, political organizing committee chair for Oakland County, Democratic Party. And I know a lot of people in this room, and I know that you're a lot of activists in this room, so I'm really hoping that you can support this endeavor. So as you know, we have had an issue with some of the maps that were drawn that went into effect in 2022. And there were 6 state Senate districts that have to be redrawn. We just went through the process for the 7 state House districts. And Price is going to be in the new district, as you probably know. But now we're going to deal with the Senate. And as you probably also, many of you know, we finally got a majority in the state Senate. Woo! Over years. And the fear now is that we will lose that majority. And it is a very real fear, because the maps that were presented, the 12 draft maps that they just presented, the vast majority of them are really bad when it comes to partisan fairness. So what I brought today, but I just want to make a comment about it. I brought some papers to pass around. This is from Voters Not Politicians. These are the maps that they are recommending. Let me start passing them, and then there's also the there's going to be the remedial plan. So if you want to start on that side, I probably don't have enough for everybody in this room. If you're friends or something, you can. Okay, so of the you see like how there's red dots in. Okay, of the 12 draft maps, basically, there's 9 of them that are really not worth considering at all. So let me go through those. And then there's a way that you can get involved, and it's very simple. You can go on the MICRC website. So what you would do is go to michigan.gov/MICRC, Michigan Independent Citizens Review Commission. Michael has, what you're looking at, he has a digital copy of that. He'll send that out in an email to the entire club membership, because there are links on there. So it makes it very easy to click on a link, and then it will take you to various things that we're going to be discussing. And I don't have a lot of time, so I got to run through this quickly. But okay, so of the final maps, 3 maps, the Lang map, the Wagner map, and the Cleary map, basically, he's saying there's no reason to adopt these maps. They don't do the best possible job of addressing the dilution of Black representation that spurred the lawsuit, because that's why it all started. Okay, the remaining maps, so Dove, Orton, and Finch, also they are saying have varying levels of partisan bias, and they do not recommend those. The Starling, the Crane, and the Cardinal, comparatively poor partisan fairness scores, they also take them out. So basically what you would want to do to start is to go into the website, click on each of those maps and you want to put a red dot. The red dot signifies that you do not support this map, you do not like this map. We are looking for hopefully thousands of red dots on those maps, so the commissioners get the clear point. And they are very open, by the way. I've been in many of the meetings, I've been to them virtually, and in person, and, they really do want citizens' input. So red dot, red pin, I should say, those maps, so that they know right away that these, we don't even want to consider. So the three that they consider to be viable options when it comes to the partisan fairness score are the Heron, the Satella, and the Phoenix. The Phoenix, which actually was somewhat modified by Brittany Kellum, one of the commissioners. So Satella, Rebecca Satella is also one of the commissioners. Those they think are the best options. What I would recommend is that you look at the maps individually. You can expand them. If you do this on your computer, you can expand them so that you can actually see, like, for example, if you go to, let's take which map do you have up, Michael? Is this here? Here, okay. So if you want to blow up the area where you would see Royal Oak, where you would be. So basically that is that would be a district that would have Royal Oak, Ferndale, Hazel Park, Madison Heights, Clawson, Birmingham, up to Bloomfield Hills. Does this go down into Detroit at all? I don't think it does. Okay, so basically this stops at 8 Mile and would go up, and so that would be the area that you would be grouped with. Now, if you go to the Satella map. The Satella map is number 404. I think it's probably down the list because, the way they're listed are going to be, the collaborative maps are the ones with the blue things. And then the individual maps of the commissioners will be at the bottom. As you go through the yeah, so and this is VMP that's recommending, and you know, since being voters not politicians, probably a lot of you here got signatures for them back in a century ago now, but yeah, so they have continued to, you know, monitor this, and they have come up with their own scores. Yeah, do you have a question or yes?
Just a quick recap.
Yeah.
Heron, Satella,
Satella.
and Phoenix are the ones, one of those would be best. One of those three would be best.
Correct.
The other one's red dots.
Correct.
Okay, and that's
And
on
the
this
Phoenix,
paper, right?
They wrote it in here as Phoenix. It should really say Kellum, because I think it's identified on the website as the Kellum map. So what happened is, when they started the process with the Senate maps, doing the draft for the Senate maps, they had, it's interesting. If you get a chance, this is time consuming, and I've spent a lot of time doing this, but you can go on the website, the MICRC, and you can click on any of the old sessions that they've had, the meeting sessions. And just to get an idea, if you've never done it, because they're all on YouTube, and listen to some of the back and forth that goes on between the commissioners and the people that have been hired to help them with the mapping process. Just so you can get a sense of what the process is. But what happened when they started the Senate, drawing the Senate districts, is they had, I think I counted 51 or 52 maps that they actually came up with, which is absurd. And that had to obviously be whittled down. So what some of the collaborative maps that they did, I'm referring here to the Phoenix map, for example, that was a map that the group did together. And then Brittany Kellum, who was one of the commissioners of Black Women from Detroit, changed it to a certain degree because she was very familiar with Detroit neighborhoods. So she wanted to have better collaboration or a better map that would include certain neighborhoods that she felt were, you know, intertwined. So anyhow, if you really want to dig deeper into it and you have the time, it would be kind of interesting to listen to some of the sessions, but they go on for hours. I'm just warning you. Yes.
I'm assuming I can probably find all this by Googling and clicking around long enough, but it would probably help for the future, I guess, to have like a QR codes or URL.
I'm sending it, you know, I'll be attachments as well. So you can, thanks.
Yeah. So the piece of paper that you're looking at, where everything you see that with a, you know, the blue underline, that is a link. And when Michael sends out that email, all you have to do is click on that link. It will take you directly to a specific map. So it'll make it a lot easier than you having to go fish for things. But if you want generally to just get into the MICRC website, I think, Michael, can you do, that probably makes the most sense is for you to look at the maps yourself. I mean, at the website. So if you just go to Michigan. Yeah. So that comes up. And then, so yeah, so you can go to the proposed Senate maps, meeting calendars, meeting notices. If you go to, there's some way that you can get a link to all of the different sessions that they've had if you're interested in that. So, let me see. Go down to public engagement, just scroll down that page there. So, yeah, you can sign up for public comment. That's the other thing. So besides putting the red pins, anybody that wants to speak in person to the commission, there is a whole schedule, and that's one of the sheets that we passed out. So there will be opportunities for you to go here. You're going to sign up. Mapping comment portal, and then you'll just be put on basically in line depending on how you sign up. The form will pop up. You're going to sign on to that, and then you will get a notice that you will be one of the speakers. They will give you your number back, like maybe you'll be speaker 4 or 10 or whatever it is, and you just click into the meeting, and the link will be right there. So all you have to do is click on it basically, and then, you'll see the meeting that's taking place. And then when they get to public comment, then whenever they get to their number, you can make a public comment. You can also go, there's 3 days, June 11th, 12th, and 13th, when you can go in person. It's 3 different high schools in Detroit. I think Cass, Renaissance, and, the other one, but anyhow, what is it? King, yeah. And if you have time, I'm going to tell you, I've spent a lot of time at the public hearings, and it's pretty interesting. You can really see democracy in action. Yes.
Once I were to go through the process of finding a way to do public comment, what exactly would I be saying?
Okay. So
It sounds complicated, but the simple thing is I don't know what to say.
My name, I live in Royal Oak. That's the case, or wherever you happen to live. And this is the map that I support. And you can just say, because, whatever reason that you see, that's why I said to look at the map and you see the communities maybe that you're grouped with. Maybe that makes sense to you, that you have a lot of common issues. When they did all of the criteria for this process, there's 7 points of criteria. And we are not supposed to be considering party. We're not supposed to be considering our legislator, for example, that, oh, I would like this because I like this particular legislator. But community of interest has been like a really big key, especially in the Zattel map. I mean, she was listening to people because this is a big spread throughout. It's not just Detroit, but it's the whole, not even the inner ring suburbs anymore, because the state Senate areas cover so much, has 250,000, something like that, average population. So it covers much bigger areas. So look at the cities that you're grouped with. you know, does it make sense to you? Do you feel like that is a community that is cohesive enough that would make sense for you to have a share or representative? So,
Thing you know that is decided and what you told that, I mean, it was.
Well,
or didn't represent very good.
you know, that's really interesting, and I have a lot of issues with that personally, but, I mean, basically, what happened is there were some, several Detroit citizens that joined together in a group and sued the commission for the maps, because they said the maps that were drawn out into, particularly into the inner ring suburbs, for example, if, you know, if you look at the maps from 21, they had a lot of long, narrow maps, and they went from, like in my case, I live in Huntington Woods, from Huntington Woods down, you know, into Detroit, and Southfield down to Detroit, Royal Oak down to Detroit, etc. And the thought was that it did not give, a black person running, a black Detroiter, a chance to win a seat in even a strong Democratic area, but if there was a Democratic candidate running that, you know, was not from Detroit, for example, then, so that's what brought the lawsuit about. However, the interesting thing is that the 3-judge panel from the western part of the state that handled the lawsuit, their ruling was really based on the Voting Rights Act, and that it was, race was taken too much into consideration when they drew the districts. So it's kind of, it's hard for me to really wrap my head around it. I don't know if you're following, but, you know, on the one hand, black Detroiters were saying, we can't get elected because of the way we do the districts, but then the judges agreed that, well, you're not supposed to be considering race anyhow, so, you know, they threw out 7 of the House districts and 6 of the Senate districts, of which, by the way, 5 of the 7 House districts were won by black people. So I just thought that was interesting too, but it's my opinion, sorry. Yes.
So, what is the strategy for us to go in and red pin every map besides this, or some that?
And then I would suggest we look, I mean, that's why I said, look at the map and see which one personally you like, because you might like to be drawn into some eastern suburbs east of you might want to go west of, you know, there, you'll have the option. And that's where you would make the comment. If you wanted to actually say something, then you would make a comment. Otherwise, you could just say, I like this map, basically. Yes.
Yeah, what map is going to eventually be the one that they decide on to use?
For me?
No, for
that, they're gonna, well, if we read out all the bad maps, and there's basically comes down to those 3 maps. And the order that VNP, for example, had listed was the Heron #1, the Zatella #2, and the Phoenix/Callum #3. I'm gonna say it'll be one of those 3 maps. If we can get enough people to really, comment.
This is there.
That'd be better.
You know, just keeping in mind that there are 4 Democratic commissioners, 4 Republican commissioners, and 5 independents. 2 of the Republican commissioners' maps are very lopsided, partisan fairness. They do not give the Democrats a chance, probably at all, of taking back the state Senate. Interestingly, one of the commissioners, who was also a black woman from Detroit, Curry, I mean, her map is also pretty lopsided. And I think in her map, what she was trying to do is to keep Detroit as intact as possible. If you do that, you are minimizing greatly the possibility that the Democrat will win control. Because of the way they drew the districts before, going from Detroit up into the suburbs, we were able to spread out the Democrats, and that gave us ability to win seats kind of in the northern area, where we're already starting to see big swaths of red. Because if you look at a map of our state, looks like a red state. The concentration, obviously, of the Democrats is closer to the big city areas. So as they were able to elongate those areas, when they did the maps originally, that's what gave us ultimately the chance to get a majority. So, yeah. Well, so that's the problem. It's supposed to go for 10 years. But, you know, there will be lawsuits. I'm sure there will be lawsuits about the maps that are presenting now. I don't know the exact number of lawsuits. I don't know if anybody else here does, like how many lawsuits were brought from the maps from that, you know, established in 21. That were in effect for the 22 election. But of all of the lawsuits, I'm gonna say there was at least 5 or 6. Only one prevailed. And there's so many interesting things about it. You know, it was 3 judges on the western part of the state. You just don't know. I mean, but one of the, besides, you know, what my concern and the reason I'm here today talking to you, and I think the VMP also is really interested in that we pick the most partisanly fair map that we can. There are other factors, you know, that are included, like majority minority districts and the, you know, the compliant with the DRA, and, you know, there's a lot of other factors. So that's where when they evaluate the maps, these 3 maps are the best ones that will hold water, and they think they can withstand any lawsuit that's brought. So, yeah, that's. Yes, okay, and then swinging over to another thing. So postcards to swing states. I have postcards, if anybody's interested, I have them in packs of 25. They're to Michigan, of course, is considered a swing state. So what this group has identified on these postcards are people that are reliable Democratic voters, but they are low performing voters. So these postcards are intended to be mailed to those people on October 17th. So we have a lot of time to write them. It's a very generic message, basically, to, you know, they give you 3 different possible versions that they're suggesting. You can make up your own if you like, but it's not really to promote any particular party. It's just like, get out to vote, your civic duty, or whatever. There's, you know, different ways that they word them. I don't have it at the top of my head, but it's a pretty easy task. The only thing that we ask is if you take postcards, if you possibly can, to put the postage on them. They'll cost you, especially, well, postage rates are going up middle of July. So if you buy the postcard stamps now, it's like $13.25 for 25 postcards. So if you'd like a pack of postcards, I would love, I have a whole box of them back there. I got them in packs of 25. All the instructions are there. You'll have a whole list of addresses. If there is an out-of-state address, it only means it's the best address they have for a person who's registered to vote in Michigan. But they're really targeting Michigan voters. So if you, you know, have the time and the inclination, that would be great. You take some postcards. You need to turn them back here to the club by the beginning of October. I will be getting all the postcards and mailing them on the 17th of October, as instructed. Thank you. What organization is it? You know, it's
It is postcards to swing states.
Yeah, this is postcards. Oh, okay, that's the, oh, yeah. Yeah, so basically they asked me if I would distribute them, go to the clubs and talk about it. So that's what it's all part of the same thing.
But do we have to follow those instructions, or just as a club can deviate from the instructions?
Well, it's supposed to be a nonpartisan message. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I really don't have. Well, I mean,
But if anyone has more questions, I'm not trying to, I just make sure you feel our hands left. It's just, talk to Marianne in the back if you don't mind. But let's go back to our candidate section and let's talk with John Price. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, great to be here this morning and happy Pride Month and then Violence Prevention Awareness Month and June is one of my favorite months. I'm really happy to get off with you. So as you heard, districts were redrawn, the House districts already went through this process. We did get a map that was fairly good in terms of partisan fairness, not as good as what we had before in terms of partisan fairness, but a lot better than it could have been. As a result, my district has changed. Right now, I represent one precinct in Royal Oak. It's the one just north of Beaumont Hospital, the Beverly Hills Royal Oak neighborhood. But with the new district, my new district, I will be representing most of Royal Oak. So if you live, live in Representative Boyce's district or Representative Scott's district, I will be able to bring both of those into my new district. If you live in Sharon McDonald's district in the northeast corner, you will keep Sharon McDonald. Her district did not change. As a result, I am just trying to get out and connect with as many folks as possible in the new part of my district. So very grateful for Paul taking me up on my offer a few months ago to do meet and greets in driveways, in backyards, in living rooms. If you have a group of neighbors, friends in Royal Oak who would like to meet somebody who will be running for state representative in your area, please reach out. Natalie at votenatalieprice.com is the best place to have that conversation. There's my website, votenatalieprice.com, pretty easy to find. So that is my ask. Please connect me with your friends and neighbors in Royal Oak. I also am picking up Huntington Woods, which I don't currently represent. I will. That will be in my new district. And Berkeley. Right now, I live in Berkeley. I come from Berkeley City Council. I represent about a third of Berkeley right now, but I will be getting the rest of Berkeley in my new House district. So that's what I'm thinking of campaign side. So over here into a state side update. We're in the middle of budget season in the State House. Most of my committees are appropriations. We passed our budget out. The Senate has their proposed budget out, and now we're in conference doing those last minute negotiations, deciding what budget we will be voting on in the, I keep saying summer, and here we are. It'll probably be around mid to end of this month where we'll do the final budget vote. Things that I'm paying a lot of attention to there, how we're funding education. And I want to go a little extra level deep with you guys to help you understand why the House put out our proposed budget on education. I'm on the school aid subcommittee fighting for equitable funding for education. This is my top priority, and we think where the details matter. So you might see in the news that the House proposed budget, although it does continue to have historic per pupil funding, right? We are investing more per pupil than ever before. That continues. The House is proposing less per pupil funding than the Senate and the governor. And you might ask why? Of course, per pupil, that's one of the easiest way to explain how we get money into our schools. Well, it's because the House strategically wants to keep funding our outstanding obligations for retirement and pension costs in order to alleviate the burden on the public schools. Right now, our public schools have a huge disadvantage to charter schools where they go to pay new teacher salaries. Public schools have to pay 20% more toward their outstanding obligations that the teacher doesn't get. That puts them at a severe disadvantage, just taking money and resources out of our public school classrooms. So our plan is to use money for those outstanding obligations to take that burden off of our public schools, also increase our per pupil funding. And this plan is very much supported by those who are in the weeds in the schools. This is doing right by teachers and our public school students. So I'm spending a lot of time thinking about that, advocating for it, talking about it. Happy to chat with you about equitable funding for education. I'm also closely following our proposed Department of Health and Human Services budget. There's a lot of good things in there, especially in the environmental space, weatherization, reducing energy costs. We've got a water affordability plan, Senator Chang, we're working that through the
through the policy process, but we also need to put our money where our values are and be prepared to fund that work as well. So those are a lot of the things that I'm thinking about, and again, happy to talk more. Unfortunately, I have to be at another meeting at noon, but you know where to find me stateside. It's Natalie Price at house.mi.gov. Thank you.
So, audience candidate. Anybody else for what? That's it.
Everybody, happy Pride. Thank you. Happy Pride. For the election to the Royal School Board. Here, which is super great to see a couple new faces. Thank you for walking in this one. Well, I just want to talk about a few things that I have been able to bring forth to the school board that have been accomplished and have made, I think, great improvements to our local schools. I think probably we'll start with the first ever pride resolution that was ever read and adopted by the school board. We did that 4 years ago. We have extended it to require, based on our resolution, that every school will apply pride flag for the entire month of June. We got that clear. If you don't see that pride flag, please let me know. We want to be sure that that is really happening. I'm sure it will be. Other things that I have brought forth to the school board, the Be Smart proclamation, which has required the superintendent to send out gun safety information to every parent and family in the school district. Very proud of that having happened. Well, my very first school board meeting ever in the history of my school board career, we pushed back the go back to school date by 1 month. What that did was give the staff and our teachers the opportunity to get vaccinated. We walked into that meeting in the district and the school board was ready to send our kids back to school February 1st. We, as the elected people, did not find that to be acceptable. We made a motion to change that. Got our teachers vaccinated, and I think that saved a lot of health issues for a lot of our staff and students. I brought forth the idea to put students on our school board and our finance and facilities meeting. We've now selected our 3rd year with students. We'll be sitting with students at our meeting. And their thoughts on the decisions we're making that clearly affect them. Brought forth a grant. We're going to learn about very shortly within a few weeks. That's going to bring a lot of money into the school district for student safety. And I would like to share some of my current endorsements that I've already achieved. One endorsed by the No Future Without Today's students. And I remember those kids who came here. They're super great. I'm super proud of this endorsement. It's probably my most favorite thing that's ever been said, as many kids have because of those kids. Been designated as a Mom's Demand Action for Instance Violence candidate. And currently I've been endorsed by Penny Luce, Robert Winberg, Sharon McDonald. And I would like to start a community endorsement. So if anybody wants to have a picture on my campaign Facebook page, as somebody who endorses me, please let me know. I think it's going to be really, really fun. Is there any questions? Sweet. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Alexander. I serve alongside Tim, Lauren, and Michelle on the Royal School Board. This is my 4th year. In addition to all the wonderful things that Tim shared, and I'm very proud of, I have pushed for greater communication among stakeholders, greater opportunities for stakeholder feedback to be taken into account. We're also looking at a greater understanding of some of the discipline data that we have, looking at disparities, particularly among Black and Brown students, as well as students who have IEPs or 504 plans, students who have different challenges when it comes to learning. And it is a really wonderful opportunity to see some of the great things that we've been able to accomplish, and I am hopeful for an opportunity to continue serving for an additional 4 years. Thank you.
Any other remaining candidates before elected officials? Okay, we'll start with our city commission, elected officials.
Yes.
Assistant, yeah, okay. City Commissioner Charlotte Dulles. I'll just quickly bring you up to date on, the position of city manager. We have contracted with an interim city manager, Mark Wallenweber. He's got a lot of experience in his career as a city manager, and he's worked in a number of communities in this role as an interim. He's jumped in to the job feet first. He's meeting with all of our staff, all of our department heads. He's got a great personality. He's just the kind of steady voice that we need there as we continue our search for a permanent city manager. So very happy with that decision. And that's really all I have to add. I'll pass it along to Brandon.
Thank you. Okay, so, I think this is a great conversation. We're talking about like how to get people involved, right? And that's something that we so desperately need in so many different levels. And, you know, I see in my group, like one thing that really touches me is the local community level. Like this is where stuff happens. So we talk about like what's happening at the national level. Sure, there are some big policies that impact us all, but most of our day-to-day life is impacted by the decisions that are made here in our own community. So this week, actually, Monica and I, along with Commissioner Herzog, we're going to sit down and we're choosing some people for vacancies on our boards and committees. These boards and committees help us set policy within the community. There's a lot of people in this room I know that are on some of our committees. A great example, Carl in the back is on the traffic committee.
Woo! Who needs a stop sign?
Big decisions, like day deductions. How we're gonna design them. We're painting new green space and bump outs. Like this is all stuff that starts as a committee, and I'm not gonna lie, some of them get yelled at a lot, which is sad. That's not the way community should be, and that's what it is right now. I hope we get beyond it just as a society. But that being said, we need help. So Michael's gonna send out this link to all the vacancies that we have. I'm asking you to apply. That's my big ask here. Look at something, look at it some way you want to be more involved in your community, and let's do it. Because the more voices we have on these committees that are trying to steer us in the right direction, keep us moving forward, the better it is for us. So with that, let's all enjoy the summer. I think we've got some big fun events coming up. We'll get, do a good group get together at some point. But Henry is definitely turning to the pumpkin here, so.
Good morning. Well, two of those big events that Brandon just spoke about, I will tell you about, and I'm going to invite you to. So this Wednesday, June 5th, from 6 to 8, the Community Engagement Board is hosting a block party, a citywide block party. It's at the farmers market. Our police officers will be there demonstrating some of the attributes that it has. K9 dogs there, and fear goggles, so if you've ever wanted to feel like know what it feels like to go jump. There's no goggles there. Along with their K9 dogs, the firefighters will be there with their truck and their ladder, and the DPW will be there with their big tractors.
The big trip.
Well, there's a big one. But come out, there'll be some food trucks, Ray's will be there, Cal's will be open, and we'll be able to visit with some of the boards that we do have in our community. The animal shelter board will be there, so you can talk to some of the representatives about what it's like to be on board, and if you would be interested in joining. So June 5th, farmers market 6 to 8, and then June 19th from 3 to 8 in Centennial Commons is the Juneteenth event. And there will be the Buffalo Soldiers, so that is a Black horseback riding club, but there's a lot of history that goes along with it, so they'll be able to tell their story there, along with a Black History Museum and fun games, family games. The firefighters always do a tug of war with the kids. And this time around, there may be a few local professional athletes that you'll be able to interact with. So June 19th, 6 to 8, 3 to 8, Centennial Commons.
And when's the vacancy deadline if we want to apply?
We're meeting Wednesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so please apply this weekend.
I just want to congratulate our engineering staff. I don't know if you saw, but the Rochester Road project earned a top award from the American Institute of Public Works. It looks great, traffic moves smoothly there, so, and I know our engineering staff put a lot of work into that, and it's great to see them recognized no matter what people say on Facebook.
It's way nicer to walk and drive there. I live on that road, so I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll take it off our floor.
Hello, my name is Michelle Cook, and I'm on the Royal Oak School Board, and just this time of year, we're just really celebrating our graduates, which is coming up commencement. Students that graduated, I think that I heard our counselor who is giving a speech say that we had $1 million worth of scholarships awarded to our students, and so that was just a great day. I know that there are some, summer school things that are going on as well, if people are still looking to sign up to those, and anything else that we should be reporting about. Seeing none, I think that's it.
One that schooling thing. So I am willing to, if anybody wants to bring clothes, I will deliver them to Ruth Ellis for you. I'll get with Michael and we'll set up a date where I can do that and maybe be here. No, we're not all driving and making that great stride on that. Thank you.
And now, we want to stay up here, we're talking about opportunities for gun violence prevention.
Hey, everybody. So yeah, in my other hats besides the board, I do a lot of gun violence prevention advocacy work. As we've mentioned a couple times, June is Pride Month. June is also gun violence prevention awareness month. And so in some places, a lot of those events are combined, right? You'll see some safety conversations alongside a lot of our Pride conversations, because we know that all of these issues are like inextricable from each other, right? That we can't talk about safety in communities, we can't talk about supporting our most marginalized people without talking about the ways that gun violence affects all of us. So I just wanted to talk to you about a few events that were coming up this month that I would love to see you at. So how many people have heard of the Silence the Violence movement out of Church of the Messiah in Detroit? Yeah, good. I know a lot of you have been there before. So Pastor Barry Randolph, who is a dear, dear friend of mine, is the pastor at Church of the Messiah, which is on the east side of Detroit, right on East Grand Boulevard. 17 years ago, he sat with his parishioners following the death of 2 children in his congregation from gun violence in his neighborhood and said, like, what can we do about this, right? I'm presiding over too many funerals to even do the work that we need to do as a church. What can we do? So in 2007, 56 of his members rallied together, had a conversation about gun violence in their community, and hosted the very first Silence the Violence March. Last year, 1,200 people marched with him alongside his congregation in Detroit. And we had a conversation prior to that event where he said, he's very, very proud of the work that he's doing, but he's concerned that people in Michigan still view gun violence as very much of a Detroit problem, right? That it's a Black people problem, it's a violence in Detroit problem, that as long as I stay out of Detroit, that those things aren't going to impact me. And wanted to know what we could do about it. So last year, the statewide coalition that we work with called End Gun Violence Michigan took that kind of messaging and that approach of Silence the Violence to 9 different communities, that on the same day there were different events going on to all talk about the ways that gun violence impact our community across the state. This year, I'm very, very excited to say that End Gun Violence Michigan and Pastor Barry are partnering with 26 different organizations and locations to host over 30 events starting today and going through June 30th that are all part of this Silence and Violence, Gun Violence Awareness Month, to really talk about the ways that violence impacts all of us and the ways that it's different across Michigan. It was very, very important to all of us from the beginning that these events reflected what was happening in the communities, that it wasn't like an outside group just coming in and saying, go fight with everyone and tell them that guns are bad. That's not the purpose. Silence the Violence as a movement has three major goals: remembrance, education, and action, right? That's what we're constantly encouraging people to do. That remembering the people that we love, taking a moment to be in community with each other, to think of the ways that violence has impacted our communities is really important. But we can't leave those events just being sad and overwhelmed and without hope, right? And so those next two steps, education and action, are also what we ask. So throughout these events, we have so many different things going on that are really, really exciting. Because that whole idea of like a massive 1,000-person rally and march through the community, that's not what every community in Michigan needs, right? So we do have a few major marches going on. We have pretty large marches happening in Detroit, Flint, Lansing, and Oxford. We also have some teach-in opportunities happening everywhere from Grosse Pointe Park to Holland to Marquette to Niles, Michigan, which I didn't even know where it was before I started planning these. We have teach-in opportunities where people are coming together to learn about those 4 major gun safety laws. The first of which the first gun safety laws that Michigan has passed in over 40 years. So we actually have something to celebrate and acknowledge this summer. So there's chances to learn about those. There's panel discussions happening between community leaders and law enforcement. There's craftivism events, which is a new word that I've learned in the last couple of weeks, but it's very, very cool. If you want to join us in West Bloomfield at the end of the month, we're going to get together and make like Taylor Swift style friendship bracelets, talk about the way that these laws impact us, and then you'll leave kind of with this memento, but also a conversation starter so that you can go into your communities and talk about like, oh, what, like, you know, why do you have that statement on your bracelet, right? So we'll make ones that say silence the violence, we'll make ones for in support of Oxford, in support of MSU, right, so that we're coming together. The ones that, I mean, you're welcome to travel all over the state and just go on like a road tour of all of these events. The ones that might be like interesting and relevant to you though, I'm inviting you Sunday evening to join us at the First United Methodist Church at 6:30 p.m. Yeah, 6:30 p.m. That's going to be a panel discussion between State Senator Mallory McMorrow, State Representative Sharon McDonald, our Royal Police Chief Mike Moore, about the ways that we can enact these laws and use them to help keep people safe. The main Silence the Violence Detroit rally is on June 15th, starting at 10 a.m. There is a panel led by student leaders in Grosse Pointe Park that we're participating in on June 6th at the public library. There's this craftivism event happening on June 26th. And then, like I said, depending on where you've got relationships and where you've got connections, there are things in the surrounding area from coast to coast, north to south. So we're very, very proud of this. I just wanted to make you aware of it. I do have orange pins on the back table there. I'd love for you to join me in wearing them throughout the month. The whole month is Gun Violence Awareness Month. June 7th in particular is Wear Orange Day. That whole weekend you'll see a lot of Wear Orange events in particular. The quick story behind that is that in 2013 in Chicago, there was a girl named Hidea Pendleton who was shot. She was an incredible young activist. She had just marched in President Obama's inauguration parade the week prior. And she was killed in neighborhood as a result of neighborhood violence in her community. And, you know, when these young people are taken from us, we don't know the lives they might go on to live. We don't know the impact that she would have continued to have in Chicago. Her friends rallied around this loss and started wearing orange on her birthday weekend, June 7th, as an effort to bring acknowledgement and remembrance to this. The reason they chose orange is because it's the color that hunters wear. To remain safe, right? Orange means please don't eat me, that I'm a human out in the forest. And so they kind of adopted that color, that movement. It turned into a day, which turned into a weekend, which now has turned into this month of action. So I just wanted to acknowledge those things, invite you to join me and us at any of those events. I'll make sure that Michael sends out the full list because I don't expect you to have internalized all of those days. All right, thanks so much.
As we wrap up, we have a few cool opportunities coming up in the next 2 months. One quick reminder is we do not meet in July. as an official meeting. We'll go back in August. If we do have opportunities, I'll have Carl kick that off.
All right, so we have our regular June bar night, which is gonna be at Pronto. It is
Pronto patio.
Pronto patio, because it's gonna Pronto, great patio out back. If it rains that day, we want to so come on by Thursday, June 20th, 7 p.m. We're gonna go see the Royal Leprechauns, minor league baseball team event. It's collegiate level. You guys have never been to the game. Been to a minor league baseball game. They have announcers, they have good seating, they have concessions, they have beer and wine buy. Great baseball to watch. So tickets are $15. I didn't grab a group, discount. Yeah, you guys just go in, pay your admission fee, ask for the Royal Democratic City, they'll let you where we sitting. We did it last year. Lauren put down was fantastic. Dems and Beer is returning. So we were ready. Fifth Avenue, and we set the date as July 14th. So put it in your calendars. We're gonna have some elected officials there. We're gonna play some games, we're gonna do prizes. More information's gonna be coming. We're still getting it all together. We just got the deliberations down, so we're good there. 2 to 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We will get more information about it, but it's gonna be a fun event. We've never been done here. I've never been, but apparently it's fun. And my last thing I just want to add is, William Asher's not here. If there's any increasing delegates that need information to hand out, I have it, back there at my table. And that needs any, also the grade, all it is information about voting and upcoming, register and whatnot. If anybody needs any, come by and see me on the way out. I'll give you a couple to hand your neighbors, your friends, your family, anything like that. Okay? Cool.
Well, some of the last items, just a reminder, next month, July 26th, 27th, Royal Pride. We have a wonderful drag queen coming, Bianca Del Rio, so you should come out for that. And Judge Kolakowski wanted to give you a quick update. Unfortunately, he was unable to make it today, but this is from him directly. Hoping you might be able to pass along to the club that Governor Whitmer signed into law, House Bill 5103, the week before last. This bill eliminates MCL, I think I need the numbers, a barrier to licensure for so many of our Operation Drug participants.
Yay!
The bill signing along with the team from Change Me Work, Secretary of State staff, Bill Alton, Representative Donovan McKinney, and Chair of the House Transportation Committee, Representative Mike Shannon. So again, it's a huge effort. It's a big deal. So I know we talk about it, but otherwise, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. Okay, thank you guys.
Hey, I have one copy of that. I'll photocopy it.
Oh, you don't have to photocopy. There's more. I have tons. These are printed by the.
Okay, I'll take a selection.
A couple, sure.
No, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Postcards, anybody? I got.
We got postcards and informational sheets back there, people.
Which one?
Yes.
No.